Okay, here's some solving with radicals. So when you have a radical, the opposite of a radical is squared. So square root and squared are opposites. So if you have the radical isolated on one side of the equation, what I mean by that is if you look on the right side of the equation, the only thing that's over there is the radical. If you already have it isolated like that, then what you can do is you can undo the radical by, let me see if I can change colors, by squaring both sides. Whatever you do to one side of an equation, you have to do to the other. If you do that, the radical and this squared cancel each other out, and so it leaves you with that 6b over c. And on the left hand side you have a squared. And then let's say you're solving for c. So I can see that I'm going to have to change colors. I'm going to have to multiply by c on each side because c is a denominator right now. Some people cross multiply, and you could do that too. That will cancel. I'll get a squared times c equals 6 times b. Then I can go ahead and divide a squared off and get c equals 6b over a squared. Okay, and the next one is what happens if it's not isolated. So this example is an example where it's not isolated, because if you look at the right hand side of the screen, you can see that there's an a and then there's the radical. So that means that the radical is not isolated. So in order to use that little trick of squaring, you have to have that isolated. So I'm going to go ahead and divide by a to get it off of the right hand side, so that now I have g over a equals the square root of 2m. Now I can use that strategy of squaring both sides, and that way my radical and my squared on the right hand side disappear, and I get, or they cancel out, and I get 2m on the right. On the left I get g over a squared, the whole thing squared. So I'm going to go ahead and write that over here. At that point I can write it separate. I usually do just so I don't lose it. A lot of people won't write it separate, and then in the end they'll square the g and won't square the a. So I like to separate it. And then I can go ahead and divide by 2. I don't want a fraction over a fraction, and so dividing by 2 is the same as multiplying by a half. So let me do this. I'm going to multiply by 1/2 so that my 2 disappears, and that way I don't have g squared over a squared over 2. Okay, so now I have g squared, that's a g, over 2a squared equals m. So that should give you a little bit of practice at the radicals, or I don't think I had them in the video, but they have shown up on the test off and on the final test, so I probably should have had it in the video.